Hey everyone, welcome to the Trade of Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Happy holidays. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you had a great Christmas, and I hope you got a lot of great plans set up for New Year's later this week. As today we welcome you in. It's our end of year podcast where we highlight the top 10 developments for the year in cannabis. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. This is not the official top 10, but this is what we think is the top 10. So let's welcome in our experts, TDR lead financial writer Benjamin A. Smith, and our investigative reporter with all the sheets and papers lined up, AB.
Loose leaf today, not computer paper. Needed my lines. Got fancy.
Do millennials know what paper is?
We do. We use a lot of it. Well, we used a lot of it back in the day, so we kind of grew up on it. So
you got the best of both worlds. You understand how to write, but at the same time, you know how to type.
Pretty much. I can actually write cursive. I'm pretty good at writing cursive.
Ben, you look all pressed up, buddy. Look at you in the suit. I think we look rather professional, don't we?
Yeah, well, the first time we dressed up, we got a good feedback from it. So here we are, round 2, end of the year. You know, we got to do it, right?
All right. So I guess let's begin. All right, drum roll, please, with our post-production. They'll bring that up. Number 10. We begin with the Canadian market, where it was the end of an era for Canopy growth in Smith Falls, Ontario, when the company sold its original Hershey facility. This was arguably the most well-known cannabis facility in the world at one time, Anthony, but time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know this number 10 was a little bit controversial internally with all of us, but at the same time, like I thought that this garnered attention to be on the list. I mean, this was a changing of the guard of Canopy. This was them divesting of their flagship facility at Smith Falls. That was one of the first cannabis facilities in the industry. This also signified the right sizing of their business, their emphasis on getting the Canadian business right and getting it down to what the scale that they actually need. And then their focus for 2024, which is going to be primarily on the U.S. So I thought that this definitely warranted being on the list and coming in at number 10.
Ben, you agree with that at number 10? I know we got a lot of other interesting developments, but end of an era, right?
I agree with it insofar that, like, if you look at it holistically, it probably wouldn't make a lot of people's lists, but because of the symbolic nature of this divestiture, I think it deserves being on this list because Canopy was the greatest cannabis company at one point in the world. Right. And Canada actually celebrated its 5 years of legalization in October. Right. So this happened around that time. This was a change of the guard, and it deserves to be on the list just for symbolic reasons alone, I think.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, gents, that's number 10. Number 9. Coming in at number 9 was the David Bois lawsuit, where he filed a lawsuit against Attorney General Merrick Garland on behalf of several cannabis companies in Massachusetts, seeking to challenge the federal prohibition of marijuana and the government's ability to interfere with state-regulated cannabis programs. Ben, this lawsuit has left a lot of people in the industry talking. That comes in at number 9.
Yeah, it really did. And also, I would say that this lawsuit came, it was about time for this lawsuit to happen. A big name lawyer from law firm Bois, Schiller and Flexner, representing the industry and basically trying to get the federal government to right size the Controlled Substance Act with cannabis allowance in these individual states. So a lot of people had been pressing for this to happen. Like, why don't we have a federal lawsuit because of all the unfair taxation and all fair, federal regulations leaching into the state and interstate commerce and all that. Well, here we have, here it is. David Bois is representing the industry. And I might add that he's a very famous lawyer. It's not just anybody. He's taken historic and often controversial cases involving U.S. elections, Microsoft, Harvey Weinstein, and Theranos, which was that big biopharma company that got into trouble and went under. This is great news. I hope it goes somewhere. It's going to take some time, but very good news for the industry.
Yeah, interstate commerce, you said before, Anthony, it's going to take a while, but definitely step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it was. It was nice to see the name associated with the industry. I mean, it's just another high-profile person that's throwing their hat in the ring in the name of cannabis. Granted, this is not pro bono. He's obviously getting paid for his services, but it was good, and I think it definitely warrants being on the list as just another step in the right direction for the cannabis industry in 2023.
Agreed. All right, let's move now. Number 8 up next is the Germans, where the country green lighted the vote for adult use cannabis. A little bit of a delay as far as the rollout, Ben, but nevertheless, it was a big announcement, and it comes in at number 8. Hopefully, we see something come to fruition early part of 2024. But basically, the Germans green lighting the vote for adult use cannabis comes in at number 8.
Yeah, it does. This was good to see too. It was a little bit of a messy situation. Things were supposed to get moving in the summer, but things got pushed back as new amendments and the back and forth went happen in the Bundestag, and they're talking about it. But this is a draft cannabis law, provides the removal of cannabis from the Narcotics Act in Germany. It would, allow possession for 25 grams of cannabis sold per person, and other measures as well to make this legal. So yeah, I mean, it's great that this is happening. Germany's a tier 1 country, biggest economy in the EU, and hopefully the vote is supposedly going to happen early next year in Q1. So we're keeping our eyes peeled for that. But this would be a big precedent-setting move if Germany does allow this.
Yeah, I mean, this was great. This was great. I mean, it's a big step in the right direction. I mean, I hate that they delayed the vote until later next year, but they want to get it right the first time around. I can't blame them for that. Just let's get the vote done, get this done, and get moving with everything the German market has to offer.
Agreed with that. But like anything in this space, everything always seems to be delayed just a little bit, right?
Yeah. Patience.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens, right? Everything is delayed. It doesn't matter what country you're in. It doesn't matter anything regulatory in this industry gets delayed. It's just kind of the way it goes. It's part and parcel of being in the industry.
Yeah. All right, number 7, 2 major MSO listings on the TSX, an exchange that was very much against U.S. MSOs listing on their exchange, the TSX, but they have changed their way. It's a sign of times. Things have changed. The industry turns a corner. But TerrAscend going public on the TSX back in July, and Curaleaf earlier this month in December. That was a big, big move, and I think a sign of things to come for this industry, don't you think, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, this was big. Jason Wild and TerrAscend obviously were the first one out in July with their announcement. Curaleaf followed here this month. It was big for the sector. I mean, uplisting senior exchanges, obviously they can become compliant to list on these exchanges, and this bodes well for any sort of further incremental regulatory reform that we get down the pipe, whether it's Schedule 3 or beyond.
Yeah. Ben, care to add to that?
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add to that. I think it, like I've said before, I think this is a play on, it's a long play. It's not a short play. Some investors were hoping that there'd be a huge jump in share price, but really it's a long play for uplisting, to get institutionals involved, because there's very few covenants on TSX big board listed stocks here in Canada. But there's a ton of reasons why, and covenants against being allowed to take positions on OTC or CSE stocks. So at least there's the optionality for institutions to get in now. I don't think you're going to see them piling in right now until reform moves in the US. But as soon as they can, Curaleaf and TerrAscend are in that pole position to attract institutional money. So that's what makes it big.
And I think managing expectations. I think some people were hoping institutions would move in right away, but as the discussions that we've had with both Jason Wild and Boris Jordan, that look, we're not expecting this to happen right away and everybody to get in, but this is a step in the right direction, paving the way for what people think could be a promising 2024, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. That too. If we have reform, who and schedule 3 happens, rescheduling, who do you think is going to receive that institutional capital first among the MSOs? So you got to ask yourself that question. Is it going to be something like a Curaleaf and TerrAscend, who are already listed, which have better plumbing on the exchanges, or would it be someone else? And I would argue that they have the advantage of gaining that first institutional money, and this is why they made this move to look ahead to that reform to attract that institutional money first.
Indeed, that's for sure. All right, number 6. I got coming in number 6 was news from New York earlier this month, where it was announced that the New York OCM will now allow certain MSO companies to begin adult use business, which is welcoming news for some companies in what could be arguably the biggest cannabis market in the country. But needless to say, Anthony, this was an announcement that was badly needed for quite some time for this state.
Yeah, I mean, this was great to see. This was great to see that the OCM opened this up for the MSOs. As a result, we had Curaleaf and the cannabis already start their wholesale operations in the state. They're punting their retail operations onto a later date, and that's to be determined once the fees and I guess everything settles. But I mean, this bodes well for New York. I mean, we've needed this for a long time. This is a step in the right direction overall for the sector. And I mean, I expect to see normalization to an extent out of the New York market in 2024 and 2025.
Yeah. All right. Our next two, number 5 and 4, you could flip-flop either one of these. It doesn't really matter because I think they're both big. But we'll go with number 5. The state of Maryland, they go live with adult use cannabis. The first official day was back on July 1st. And since then, we talk about growth states. This is a state that has not disappointed. Recent numbers back in November included $89.5 million. What a state this has been so far in the first 6 months, Ben.
Yeah, it's been very solid. The growth sales numbers that you mentioned, it's been a boon for some of the MSOs like TerrAscend and Miramed, who've just gotten operations up there. So for the MSOs that have a more limited footprint on a national basis, these sales are really helping their numbers on the top line. We saw that with TerrAscend, their last earnings report, which showed double-digit growth and one of the highest growing MSOs in the sector. And Maryland numbers just came on for the first time in the reporting cycle there. So I think it's very good. It's a very solid state. It's not the biggest state out there. We have others like Ohio that are coming on board, but it is going to be one of the solid mid-tier ones that should be very reliable in terms of sales profile.
Gives you a real good feeling about this space. I know a lot of people say, well, their portfolio's down, but fundamentally, like you said, Maryland's not one of the biggest states, but if that's a state producing already those kinds of numbers, think about what some of these bigger states are going to generate in due time, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see. It brought some excitement into the earnings season last quarter, to look at what was actually going on each of the companies' top lines in terms of growth and who was really performing in Maryland. It's going to continue to be a growth engine. It just hit, I think, like Ben said, it just hit about 90 million monthly run rate in the month of November. So it's good. It was definitely a splash, and it brought some excitement into the sector.
Yeah. All right, number 4. I'm editing on the fly. In my notes, I got this wrong, but this is correct. Number 4 coming in, Ohio approves adult use cannabis back in November. This is a $4 billion market. Again, Maryland, Ohio, 4 or 5, they're both probably equal, but another big step in the right direction, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, this was big. Ohio's big. It benefits a lot of the MSOs that are in that state. It also raised the cap on retail from 5 to 8, which is good. This was also met with a little bit of challenge from the Ohio State GOP. There was conversation around this. There's still conversation going on about this as per amending it to protect the people of Ohio that actually do not want to be exposed to cannabis, which I don't blame them. Roll it out right, and do everything that's right for both sides. It doesn't need to be all about the cannabis space. It also needs to be 360 degree legislation that's going to cover everybody that's involved in the state of Ohio, whether they're for or against it. And this is also going to be a growth engine for the MSOs moving forward for the next couple of quarters to come.
And a quick reminder, the top 4 or 5 companies to benefit most in that state, you got Air Wellness, Curaleaf, the Cannabis Company Holdings. Who's a couple more?
GTI's in there, and I also...
Is Verano in there?
Verano's in there as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we're down to our top 3, and no surprise, they all come out of Washington. Number 3, Ben, was no short of drama, the House Speaker chaos. Kevin McCarthy was ousted as the Speaker back, I think that was on October the 4th, if I'm correct. He later came back briefly and has since resigned, so no short of drama in yet another year of chaos in Washington that has not helped cannabis investors.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. I know when the Speaker...
you think?
Yeah, it took a lot of people by surprise. I don't think the agreement when the GOP in the House brought Kevin McCarthy back on, there was a big battle during the 2022 elections there for the House elections. There was a covenant in there that Kevin McCarthy had to agree to, and there was basically an allowance for him to get voted out on just a few votes. And Matt Gaetz took that up in a surprise move. No one saw coming, and he was ousted. And then subsequent, they had two nominees that failed to get by, two people that were actually pro cannabis, and they ended up with Mike Johnson. So we're at a point where, just the luck for cannabis investors. They get somebody in there who according to normal is at rate an F. So we don't know where this is going to go. There's no indications that Mike Johnson has put cannabis as a priority early on. So who knows for 2024? But the chaos went from Kevin McCarthy, who was at least positive on safer banking, to Mike Johnson, who's more of an unknown. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Political theater on Capitol Hill at its finest.
Just give me rescheduling, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was this was a big headline. It caused a lot of uncertainty. I mean, it came at a time where we saw SAFE having momentum, and then it kind of just stopped dead in its tracks to a degree. I hope we see Mike Johnson get some momentum or get some conversation going around SAFE and the NDAA at large in 2024 and actually get some stuff done for once. It'll be interesting to watch.
Don't hold your breath.
No, I'm not.
All right, gents, we are down now to the final two biggest developments, TDR's biggest developments in cannabis for 2023. Anthony, number two was the Safer Banking Act. It was and its subsequent markup. The Banking Act, as many know, would allow banks and credit unions to serve cannabis businesses and their workers in states where cannabis is legal. U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown announced back in September that the Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee will mark up the Safer Banking Act, and later was passed amongst the Senate Banking Committee by a vote of 14-9. We were actually in Chicago at the Benzinga conference when that vote came down. But that really kicked off, I guess, some positive sentiment while we were there, and most importantly, for the overall industry.
Yeah, I mean, this was huge. I mean, obviously, it didn't fundamentally change anything, as we're still talking about safer being in limbo. But a markup was historic. Getting the conversation around it and getting the Republican nominees in line. It just showed that there are people on both sides of the aisle willing to speak about cannabis and willing to push and get behind cannabis legislation in Washington, D.C. That being said, I mean, I think it'd be disingenuous to say that the wind hasn't completely come out of the sails for SAFE and Safer, and the prospects of it passing in 2024 are still rough. But this was monumental for the industry, and this had everybody buzzing 4 weeks. So, I mean, I definitely think it warrants to be number two on the list.
Ben, you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. It definitely, during that time, it had people talking, right? And people were very hopeful again. And obviously it sort of stalled out there with, what happened in the House and, all these other things. But it did at least got the markup vote, which was kind of historic in a lot of ways. That had never been done, and that now it sits in the hands of the Senate, and now it's up to Chuck Schumer. So he just said it's a priority for 2024 to get this through. We shall see, but at least it's in the Senate hands. Chuck's saying the right things, and let's just hope that he's finally able to carry the ball forward for a touchdown this time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, gentlemen, it is time for the biggest announcement of 2023 in cannabis. For all you viewers out there, are you ready? Let's get to it.
Surprise.
Number one, no surprise, the HHS recommends to the DEA back on August 29th that cannabis should be rescheduled, perhaps to a Schedule 3. This was the turning point for the industry. When we look at a lot of these announcements and developments that have happened, they've happened towards the back end of this year. But needless to say, this is creating a positive momentum going into 2024. Anthony, should we indeed see rescheduling happen?
I think we do. I know that we have differing opinions on this. I've said Q1, you said Q2. Last week on Trade to Black, I mean, everybody's got their own opinions. If we didn't get this announcement right now, I really don't know where the cannabis conversation would be. We would be sitting here on pins and needles praying that SAFE is going to get passed, and it would be looking quite ominous, to be completely honest. The fact that we have Schedule 3 to look forward to, and the fact that it does look like there's an above average chance that it does get done, bodes very well for the sector. I mean, like I said, I think we're having a very, very different conversation right now if we don't get the HHS announcement, and sentiment is very, very different going into 2024 for the overall sector. So this was absolutely the largest announcement of 2023. And I mean, I would even go to say that this is one of the largest announcements in the cannabis industry's history as a whole.
Goes without saying, right, Ben?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it was big, and people have to remember the subsequent rally in MSOs and cannabis stocks when that happened. We were up around 80%, I believe, but we broke 10 briefly pre-market during that whole chaos, and volumes were
Nice.
extremely heavy, heaviest volumes of the year. So Hopium was there. Inflows on the ETF were incredible. So this was definitely makes the biggest announcements list, and I believe that if they can pull through next year, which I believe, like Anthony, I think they will, then we can have a transformative event for 2024, and this instantly becomes the top story of 2024 when we do this all again next year. So
Yep.
I think finally 2024 could be shaping up for the year for cannabis investors after 3 years of getting a blitzkrieg, essentially. Blitzkrieg.
Done. All right. We want to make actually a few honorable mentions. One, Twitter allowed cannabis advertising. I think that's worth noting. Didn't make our top 10, but it was close. Tilray purchased some Anheuser-Busch brands. That was a pretty good size announcement. Flores Capital Group announced the first securitization in the history of the industry. That was another big one. And Bruce Linton still seems like the most carefree person at any cannabis conference that you would ever attend to. And man, it's good to be Bruce Linton these days.
I like Bruce. I'm a big fan of Bruce.
Bruce is a beauty, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think that'll wrap things up. I want to wish you guys all happy holiday season. I think if there's any one or two besides rescheduling, what are key things to look for in 2024 pertaining to this industry? What comes to mind besides the obvious rescheduling for you, Ben?
I think whether it could be paired with some sort of safer banking, I think that would be good. I'm not putting my hopes up to. I'm with some of the analysts like Vivian Azer, for example, who doesn't see this happening in 2024 necessarily. I'm tired of playing, the boy who cried wolf. But if it can be paired, I hope I'm wrong. Then we'll have a double barrel catalyst that can really propel the industry forward, and then that will definitely lead to up listings and a whole new segment in the market, a whole new chapter, if that can happen. But hopefully rescheduling, that is my baseline. Anything else with regulation, that would be an added bonus.
You're an FLA boy, AV. So I would think
Florida,
that's probably something that you're going to lean towards going into 2024.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, yeah, Florida adult use, getting that ballot initiative on the ballot in 2024, having Florida flip, and then having companies like TerrAscend, Move, Curaleaf, Consortium being big beneficiaries of that movement in the state of Florida and it becoming the largest market on the East Coast. I mean, I think New York could eclipse it down the road. But to be honest, if Florida goes adult use quickly, which I mean, when I say quickly, you're looking at probably a mid-2025 rollout. Yep. I think it still outpaces New York in terms of revenue and growth for some time now on the back of that. But yeah, biggest thing for me in 2024 is going to be Florida getting the adult use ballot initiative on the ballot for the year.
That's a good one because I think they'll be the biggest state in the union if they do that. I think it'll eclipse California with all the tourism and population growth. People got to remember, California, I believe their population is going down now, and Florida is exploding because of the politics there. So with all the tourism and all that, I think they have a chance to be the most valuable state. So this is a big deal with the Florida Supreme Court rules on the ballot, and then them actually passing the voters in 2024. It's a big deal.
Florida, I think, will be what California could have been. I think that's done right.
We're going to find out.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your time off for this holiday season. Before you let you go, here's my picks. Picking Alabama by 10 over Michigan. Texas is going to roll over Washington.
Yeah.
And the national champion, I'm picking the Texas Longhorns. Matthew McConaughey. All right. I think he'll be a happy man. But I think Texas is the team that's going to win the national title. I've even asked you, your alma mater, man, they were robbed.
They were robbed. Yeah.
I saw a lot of the posts. Brady Cobb was not happy about that either. But man, I don't know how you can have an undefeated team. I get the reason why their quarterback was hurt, but still, that goes to show how bad and corrupt college football is. But this will also be the last college football game that Jim Harbaugh coaches.
Probably.
Is he retiring? Is he retiring?
No. NCAA is going to probably come down with a hefty suspension at the end of the season. He'll probably be gone.
And then he goes to the NFL.
But the NFL has already made an announcement that whatever suspension is implemented by the NCAA will carry over into the NFL. So the Chargers or Bears, rumor has it Harbaugh is a great fit, but if he's suspended for 6, 7, 8 games, he's going to have to obviously commit to that. And do you want to bring in a new coach that won't be there for half or 3/4 of the season? I don't think so.
No, not at all.
All right, gents. Happy holidays. Let's look forward to an incredible 2024. Any plans for New Year's Eve? You going karaoke singing with the TerrAscend people?
I'm literally about to piss my pants.
All right, he's out of here. Ben, happy 2024, buddy.
Yeah, that's an exit I never thought I would see. But thank you, Shad. We'll hope 2024. Happy to all our viewers. 2024, I hope is a good year. I'm pulling for everybody. I think it can be. Let's see what happens, Shad. Merry Christmas.
You as well, buddy. Happy holidays. And happy holidays to all our viewers. Leave some comments below. Do you like our top 10? Do you think we missed anything? If there's anything that we missed, leave a comment below. I know people will like our top 10. I'm sure some people will think it's controversial. Either way, let us know. This is not fixated. We're not leaning one way or the other. This is just what we think. And if there's anything we missed, outline it below. We'll feel free to reply and let you know what we think as well. But we appreciate your support and all the best to all of our viewers out there in 2024. This is the Traded Black Podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dale, saying good night. Stay classy.